Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Saturday night live stream. What a week have we got in front of us? The Kota live stream. Hi, Leanne. Good to see you. Yes. So, I'm streaming on two platforms at the same time. Streaming on YouTube and I'm streaming on TikTok. So what have I got prepared? I've got prepared a live stream about team principles, Fred Vasseur, Zak Brown, and an ex-team principal called Christian Horner. I'm just going to say hi to everybody in the chat on YouTube. Hello, Christina. Nice to see you. Hi, Inge. Hello, Ivan. Hello, Tanveer. And there's Henry. Henry is joining us on two different platforms. That's nice. Oh, actually, you're gone from TikTok. But that's okay. I don't blame you. So, did you guys catch up with all my videos this week? Because all three of them are bangers. I'm so glad to see some views again after a long period of drought. I don't know what's happening here. Oh no, don't need that. Okay, let's not get distracted here. Thank you, Henry. Yeah, the webcam on my my Dell laptop isn't the best. I'll try to fix that at some other time. So how's things with Haas? Because Henry Wallace is the Haas chap. Are you happy that Christian Horner didn't join Haas? Because I wasn't always happy with him at Red Bull. There's a lot of problems with the media. So I'm just gonna wait a couple of minutes. Ivan watched all three. Yeah, I've seen your comments, Ivan, and I don't think you've corrected me on anything, so I'm learning. But yeah, they're getting great views, and it's just what we needed after a long period of getting very little views because of the holidays and what have you. So yeah, I've got something prepared about those three team principles, and yeah, I'm just gonna wait 2 more minutes for a few more familiar faces to come in. You know, Christina says, I need Horner at Ferrari. He needs to whip those Italians into some sort of functioning team. Well, we are going to discuss this at some point, but I'm not convinced if Horner's Britishness fits with the Italianness, if you know what I mean. It's a hard one, but we'll talk about it in a minute. Tanveer, you've watched 2 from my 3 videos. Well, that's great, because you have 1 left. And what did you think of them, Tanveer? It's like there's a lot of talk about McLaren, isn't there? So yeah, we'll talk about the CEO of McLaren as well. Because Zak Brown is also in trouble. And Christina says, we all know that Italianness doesn't fit with Italians. Uh, no, I believe there's a lot of internal conflicts as well, and that's why there's so many rumors coming out, because there's internal parties within Ferrari who are leaking stuff to the press or trying to throw things over. And there's Samantha, my darling. Hiya. Oh, the chat was being weird. Okay. So let me go to my notes, because it's 6 minutes past 8, and we're going to start talking about Christian Horner. Christian Horner, as you all know, 2 years ago got into trouble with a personal assistant who accused him of inappropriate and bad behavior. And I'm not going to rehash that whole ordeal, with all the stuff that was leaked and whatever. It all had everything to do with internal struggles where Olaf Mintzlaff and the Austrian side didn't really appreciate it being the big Christian Horner show, and Christian Horner felt that a good Formula One team needed to be run by one person making all the decisions, which was him. So he was pretty much being the Ben Sulayem of Red Bull, and they eventually sacked him because the threat of Max Verstappen leaving after Newey and Wheatley had already left was too big. And that was that. I think last week or 2 weeks ago, it came to a final conclusion when Red Bull paid Christian Horner 100 million to buy him out of his latest contract, of all the 4 different departments he was running. Apparently, he took a smaller sum of money from Red Bull to be able to work in Formula One again, a couple of months into 2026. And this is why he's trying pretty much every team on the grid to get in there. And that's what I wanted to discuss quickly. The chances of him coming into Haas are slim to none, because Gene Haas is not willing to sell any of his equity, and this is what Christian Horner really wants. He wants equity in a Formula One team where he starts, so he can't get sacked anymore. And he wants to run that team close to himself and making all the big decisions to make things go quick and smoothly instead of a board having to talk about it. But team principal Ayu Komatsu said nothing is going any further, and Gene Haas is not interested in an injection of money from Christian Horner. Then Aston Martin looked like an ideal team, partnering up again with Adrian Newey, but even though Adrian Newey and Christian Horner are going to dinner with each other again, owner Lawrence Stroll had no interest in letting Christian Horner join, even if he brought a bunch of money, because let's face it, Lawrence Stroll and his consortium, they have plenty of money. They're worth billions. Then there's Alpine, and I'm wearing an Alpine shirt, as you can tell. At Alpine, there's Flavio Briatore, and he sort of half denied it by saying, he's not with Alpine currently. So that door is maybe open, But later on, we heard that Renault isn't interested in selling Alpine. Um, Numbers like 1.6 billion are being called, but yeah, it hasn't happened. But Briatore said in September, Christian Horner is not in F1 right now. I hope he comes back soon. And I think he would be a good fit for Alpine, because the biggest problem they had was a leadership that kept changing directions, a bit like Ferrari. Okay, that's the next team. No, that's not the next team. He spoke with Cadillac, but yeah, CEO Dan Towers said there were no talks with Christian Horner, and that was that. So there's a 0% chance that he ends up there. At Williams, Vowles said, we're happy with the structure, but future talks cannot be ruled out. So that's kind of interesting. Obviously, there's no space for him at Mercedes because because Toto Wolff is there, and that's his nemesis. And McLaren, Audi, and Sauber, they're done as well. So that leaves Ferrari. Now, this is where it becomes interesting. John Elkann is apparently not happy with Fred Vasseur. And people are advising John Elkann to get Christian Horner in that seat. But yeah, so far, Christian Horner has not shown any interest in the old-fashioned, very tight community that is the Ferrari team. Like, I can imagine that if he wants to do this, then he needs to get carte blanche and do it a bit like Jean Todt and what do you call him? Ross Brawn. What they set up in those days, that's something that needs to happen at Ferrari. But at the minute I'm seeing that the stocks of Ferrari are plummeting again, and stock markets, they're very important for businesses, especially nowadays in Formula One. So I think there's always going to be meddling from the Ferrari team. Then there's always the possibility of Christian Horner starting a new team. And in this new team, he would start from the ground up, which is something that he did for Red Bull in, 2004, 5, 6, when he started working for Red Bull. And he was the one that got all the talent in and put everybody in the right place, which was a very impressive job that he did. There are things happening. I'm hearing about Toyota who has a rally driver they want to get into Formula One, but then Toyota has also a link with Haas. So yeah, if they want to get into Formula One, they might do it with them. I hear of an Asian group, the Pantera group, that want to get into Formula One. What do you call him? Schaffnauer, Otmar Schaffnauer. He's working with a group of investors to get into Formula One, and Christian Horner might be well off to get into that as well. So it's very possible that Christian Horner is going to return to Formula One in 2026, but it's not clear where he's going to be because he has a few demands, like having equity in the Formula One team he's in, and not everybody is interested in that. Now let's go to the chat. Ivan is talking to Christina. That's fine. And there's Alice Coppenall. Alice Coppenall Pitty. Hey Wimbo, don't you think Horner is secretly thinking what goes around comes around for Zak Brown? Well, I had this brilliant meme in my mind where Christian Horner is sitting there with his very serious face with glasses on, saying, Zak Brown, what's happening with Zak Brown is ruining Formula One. Because Zak Brown pretty much said a similar thing to about Christian Horner when Christian Horner was at his lowest. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that Christian Horner is laughing behind his hand at what Zak Brown is going through with a court case and the media tearing them a new asshole for their stupid fucking papaya rules, and they're not sticking to them, or only sticking to them sticking to the papaya rules, and then only doing it for one driver, and people don't like that. Hey, there's a new name, INdycar. And he says, I'm going to translate, they should have sacked Horner earlier, or should they have sacked Horner earlier, maybe Newey and Wheatley would have stayed. Oh, that's a very good point. I think the Verstappens were ready to let go of Christian Horner when, you know, when the shit hit the fan. And if they had done that, then maybe Newey would have stayed, yes. But, you know, for a team, for the longevity of a team, you need to give younger people a chance to grow into their role. And what I'm seeing now with the RB21 is that they are discovering the problems and they are fixing it, because, you know, for a few races now, Red Bull has been as quick, or in some races even quicker, than McLaren. And there's more upgrades coming, which is also brilliant. F1 Yapaton. Oh my god, I can't believe that I've got you in my chat. I just discovered your channel, and I have to say, I wanted to comment this. I love how much work you put into that one video a month you post, because I know how much work it is to have a meme and a joke and a sound effect and a gripping script every 3 seconds. So yeah, that I'm just made up that you're here, F1 Yapaton from Australia. And I want to advise everybody, if you're in the mood for crazy high energy videos about Formula One with lots of jokes, subscribe to F1 Yapaton. Will Gunther Steiner make a comeback? No, I don't think so, because he's in a MotoGP now. And there's Fibbit a bit. Wait, where did I see Fibbit a bit? Good evening, everyone. Oh. No, I'm not going to start over Fibbit a bit. And F1 Yapaton says, Flavio the GOAT. Polish Eddie, hello, sir. How are you doing? Polish Eddie, you have to thank YouTube, because they make it possible to give away 10 free memberships every month. And that's working out very nicely, because, you know, you're here now. Make sure you watch all my extra content. Christina, Horner at Merck. That would be hilarious. Netflix would get so much content to create a full sitcom. Yep, that would get into fisticuffs. Inge says, language wimbo. I wasn't that bad. I only said shit and fuck. Hank. Hey, everybody's saying hey, hi to Hank. Hello, Hank. I was only talking about Christian Horner. You haven't missed much. Is he still here, F1 Yapaton? No? See, I didn't notice him early enough. That's a pity. I'll see if I can send him an email. Okay, let's go to the second part. Because if Horner gets a possibility in Ferrari, then the other team principal that I wanted to talk about is going to get sacked, which is Frédéric Vasseur. Okay, what have I made notes about Fred Vasseur? Okay, Fred Vasseur took over from Mattia Binotto in 2022, and he's under scrutiny in 2025. Yeah, I don't want to be like a record stuck at the same tune the whole time, but I believe they made a big mistake in revamping the whole car at the end of 2024. But yeah, it's too late now. The car is running too low, so they have to put it higher, and then to get speed out of the car and warm up the tires, they need to use their brakes more. And when they use their brakes more, they have to lift and coast to make it to the end of the race, and it's just a mess. And Fred Vasseur is taking the brunt of the blame for all this, which is a pity because he doesn't deserve that. He's a good guy. So the speculation of Fred Vasseur being in trouble was this summer in June, July. But it came from Gazzetta dello Sport and Corriere della Sera. And I'm not sure, but I think Italian media is as rough as the British tabloids. And in Italy, there's always this kind of mafia. Well, I wasn't going to say mafia, but there's a lot of corruption, and I believe people within Ferrari have links to the media, and they bring out what they want to bring out. And maybe they heard that there might be a possibility of Christian Horner becoming available, because internally I'm pretty sure people knew that was coming, and that's why they wanted to get Fred Vasseur out. But in contrary of those rumors, Fred Vasseur got a new multi-year deal with Ferrari. So the top management must be still happy with him. But then I've also heard that John Elkann isn't a person that has very many hang-ups on what he said one day. If he thinks for the team it's better to do the opposite the next day, then he'll do that, which is pretty annoying if you think you have a steady job at Ferrari. So the recent whispers are that Elkann remains desperate for Horner despite the extension. And it's also because Horner became properly available. People said that these rumors were disrespectful and they're hurting the team. Then Johnny Herbert heard about these things, and he said that it was a brilliant idea, and that's what Ferrari needs to do. So, yeah. I also heard that Charles Leclerc was in trouble for pretty much saying that the Ferrari, the SF25, was a shitbox. And now internally, a lot of people are angry with Charles Leclerc. There's mechanics and engineers within Ferrari that don't like Leclerc anymore. And then all of a sudden the rumors come up of Charles Leclerc leaving Ferrari, which I find hard to believe, because I think, just like Max at Red Bull, Charles Leclerc should stay at Ferrari until the end of his career. But yeah, that's a bit of a side jump. Let's focus on the team principals. I hope they don't sack Fred Vasseur, because they've been doing that for so long now. Every time the team is not running the way it should, they sack the team principal, and it's not bringing them anywhere. You know. Um, yeah, the rumors they'll keep coming because Ferrari has a passionate ecosystem, uh, and everybody's a Ferrari fan, so everybody sticks their nose in to give opinions. Um, it's a classic drama. That's what's happening. That's what's happening with Ferrari, and I think Vasseur is secure. He he started this process, and especially with him working in F2 with Lewis Hamilton, I think they're gonna give it a go for another year to see what they can do in the new regulations. Okay, let's go back to the chat. Alice says, "Do you know Zak Brown had a stake in Quadrant?" Yeah, I heard that, but we're going to talk about Zak Brown after Fred Vasseur. Hank says, "Horner's history anyway. Horner to Ferrari, not going to happen. The boardroom is even more influential than it was at Red Bull." Yeah. Hello, Ezyoko. Welcome to my live stream. IndoPower says they can change the team principle as much as they want, but history teaches us what they always did to good drivers, make them depressed. Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, and Charles Leclerc, etc. Yes, I think being a driver or a team principal at Ferrari is one of the most depressing jobs out there. And then there are people like Christina who become fans of Ferrari, and they're even more depressed. Just kidding. Yoko says Herbert is in every drama. Yes, he's a drama himself. Exactly, Inge. Exactly what I wanted to say. Johnny Herbert is a drama queen. Ivan says Leclerc to stay at Ferrari till the end of his career. Sounded a bit like a curse. No, things will change. You know what I've heard? Next year will be Ferrari's year. You can take that to the bank. Hey, Gentiles. I forgot to text you. But yeah, it's the same time every Saturday. As Yoko says, I think Ferrari doesn't give the principals the freedom to make changes. Horner is used to having all the freedom. Exactly. And he wants a stake into the new team. Do you think that family company of John Elkann, who is fighting with the Italian government because of taxes that he didn't report right, and his mum, he's actually in a court case with his mother to see who the boss is of Ferrari. There's a lot of drama going on at Ferrari. But do you think he'll say, okay, I'll pay out my mom and then I'll just fill the gap up with the 100 million from Christian Horner and his investors? No, I don't think so. No, I don't see that happening. Christina says, that's true, Wimbo. We live in constant depression. Yeah, I'm sorry I made that joke now. Tambrick says, ooh, classic. Next year's our year. Yeah, that's why I said it. That's why I said it. But it can all change at some point. Okay. Zak Brown. Let's have a little bit of gossip about Zak Brown. Let's start with the mounting pressure he's under at McLaren, because we have the Palou lawsuit and the driver management backlash. Yeah, it's a week that they should be celebrating because they won the constructors 2 years in a row, but the media is full, and YouTubers, they keep making videos about how stupid the papaya rules are. And at the same time, he's in a lawsuit with Alex Palou, who was promised a lot of stuff. And then that didn't happen because Piastri was hired. Then we discovered that Zak Brown actually didn't want Piastri to be hired. And he wanted Palou, but that didn't happen. And basically, because Alex Palou broke the contract that he signed with McLaren, McLaren is suing him for $20 million. Now, Palou is a very successful IndyCar driver because he's won that championship 4 times. But yeah, he says it's ridiculous that they're looking 20 million for them. You know, he's aware that he broke his contract, and you know there should be a sum of money towards that, but not the 20 million that that McLaren wants from him. But yeah, he's spilling the beans about everything, and especially with this war going on within the McLaren fan base, because the Piastri fans, they're all saying Zak Brown is favoring Lando Norris. And then to find out that Zak Brown for years had a stake in the quadrant business of Lando Norris. That's a bad look because he only sold his part last year. And to find out that Zak Brown actually didn't want Piastri. It was Andreas Seidel at the time that wanted Piastri. That gives fuel to the people that that say that Lando Norris is getting favored. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all works out. I'm reading here the testimony claims of the Palou court case. Palou says that Brown, as a negotiating tactic, dangled a Formula One seat in his face, and then Brown said, "I never strung along Alex. There was only some optionality to join F1." But then Palou says the only attraction was F1. And Zak told him that they could make it happen. Brown said that it wasn't his decision to hire Piastri. And Palou talked to Helmut Marko. But Zak Brown blocked those conversations. So, you know, where he wanted to be in another Formula One team, he wasn't allowed to by Zak Brown. Now, what is really interesting is that there were leaked WhatsApp messages, and Zak Brown ordered them to be destroyed. The ex-IndyCar manager, Gavin Ward, messaged, "Cover their ass on lawsuits." And there was a password-protected document called Palou. But Zak Brown said no relevant docs were destroyed. He said, "I did not turn on disappearing messages to cover our asses." Which sounds a bit like Bill Clinton, where he said, "I did not have sexual relationships with Monica Lewinsky." And DeMarco, who's the lawyer of Palou, said, "You have destroyed evidence. You continue to do so after lawyers said not to." And he accused Brown of a pattern of false promises of the F1 glory before shafting them. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting how this is all gonna end up. I hope for Palou that he has to pay like $1 million, and then they can close the book. But then there's the Norris versus Piastri fight. Fairness under fire in the title fight. Now, this is actually a good occasion to make a poll. Who is getting favorite at McLaren? Nobody. Okay, let's see what everybody thinks about this poll. Okay, let me go to the chat before I go any further. Reportedly, allegedly. Ivan says, I've heard the actor who played Joker in Dark Knight, in order to get used to a role of depressed man, used to work as a Ferrari strategist for some time. Sorry, it's a bit of copyright violation. Yeah, Heath Ledger, he locked himself in a hotel for days without talking to anybody. But yeah. Yoko said, Zak should be happy with a driver like Oscar. They've done him dirty. Yep. Indo Power says, with Zak Brown background in marketing, it's clear who's the most marketable driver. That could also be an option. Also, Adam Norris has invested 44 million euros, dollars, with his Horatio investment fund into McLaren when they needed it the most. So yeah. Christina says, is there still anybody, with exception of Norris fangirlies, who doubts there is favoritism? I definitely think most people see it clear as day. Samantha says, question from TikTok chat, Wimbo. That guy's not even in the chat anymore. Gentili says, turns out he truly is a zak. A zak in Dutch is a bag. A ball bag. Yes? And Ivan says they shouldn't have called the document Palou. They needed to use some random secret name. Not Oscar. Christina says that not Oscar joke is killing me. And Christina says maybe Heath was rewatching F1 races with Ferrari deploying strategy as part of his preparation for the role. You know, the other day I found out that Eddie Irvine lost the 1999 championship to Mika Hakkinen by 2 points because Ferrari had a slow pit stop and they couldn't find the fourth tire. So he had a pit stop of 38 seconds, 28 seconds, I don't know. And then evil tongues are saying that it was actually Michael Schumacher who was injured, that blocked or that organized that bad pit stop because he didn't want the B driver, the second driver, to win the championship. But yeah, that's just a rumor. Okay, let's go back to the content. Okay, so with Piastri leading Norris by 22 points after 18 races, the duo's rivalry has been testing McLaren's papaya rules. The rules consist of no contact, equal opportunity, and team first. the media didn't like that very much, and the fans are all yelling Norris favoritism, especially after Singapore, because the Norris pinballing went unpunished. And Norris has been very clunky. You know, he messed up a few qualification sessions earlier on this year, and then in Canada he took himself out by driving into the back of Norris, no, of Piastri in Canada, and then in Hungary, Norris was way behind Piastri, and they decided to give him a different strategy with the one stop. And I have to say that he did make that work, Norris. But he won that race where, yeah, Piastri was the main driver all the time. Then in Monza, which was ridiculous, there was a slow pit stop, which hampered Norris because he had asked to be pitted second. And then he had a slow stop, and they had to swap drivers, or they had to swap positions, and everybody was disgusted. And then in Singapore, they bumped into each other. But everybody is clear that the gloves will be off, and I think Zak Brown and Andrea Stella are going to have 6 more races with their bums clinched, and 3 more sprint races where anything can happen. But yeah, I think it's a bit hypocritical to keep repeating we want hard racing but no contact, and then as soon as Norris makes a pass while making contact, that they say, no, we're not going to do anything because it's hard racing. And it was only because he had to move away from Verstappen. Yeah. But yeah, I'm having so much fun on Twitter because, you know, a lot of people are dunking on McLaren for not sticking to these papaya rules, but that makes the Norris girlies very insecure because, yeah, they like that favoritism, so they don't want that to change. So they keep denying it, and yeah, Twitter and Threads is a fun place. Hey, there's Vegas. Thank you, Vegas. And you're working with your hands. Ah, good man. I'm glad you're listening. Okay. Christina says, "Well, what would you expect from Ferrari?" You're still talking about that pit stop. Ivan says, "But McLaren also screwed up that race, the European GP 1999, because Hakkinen finished P5, almost a lap down." Okay, but P5 is still a couple of points. Let's see how this poll ended. 92% said not Piastri. And 8% says nobody got favored. Okay, interesting. So this was pretty much the content I had prepared. So is there anybody who wants to chip in about something? I have to say that I haven't got any new ideas yet for a new video. I might do a little video about some great races in Kota or something. Maybe I'll just dust off an old Max Verstappen triumph in Kota, because I remember there was one race that he went from P18 to P2. I think it was in Kota where Max Verstappen was taken off the podium, I think, for overtaking Kimi Raikkonen off the track. And then a year later, those rules had changed, and if that hadn't changed, then the overtake would have been good. Chat's very quiet all of a sudden. Come on, guys, help me out. What do we want to talk about? Inge says a new video about the wags, maybe. No, please don't. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not Kim Ilman. Although I like him. Indo Power has a good question. Did the friendship between Max and Lando go downhill at Austria last year when Lando yapped about Max and has never stopped since? I think after Austria and after Brazil, they were just fine. But the dirty air thing in Singapore, that really pissed Max off. Because a day later, Max posted on his Instagram a picture of Max in front on the straight and Norris in the dirty air way behind him. And it was a little bit petty. It was something that Lewis Hamilton would do, on social media. But I think the relationship between Max and Lando has cooled down a bit. Maybe till the end of the season, because they are competition now. I think that's as it should be, though. Drivers shouldn't be friends with each other, especially if they're fighting for a title. Gentili says, lots of people complaining lately about the TV direction showing the wives and girlfriends instead of the on-track action. Yes, Richard, if you had seen my last video, you would know about this. Because I discussed it. My last 3 videos were all bangers. The first one has 12,000 views. The next one has 20,000 views. And the one I posted yesterday has 8,000 views. So, nice. Hank says, according to Max, nothing has changed from his side. Max is able to separate track and personal stuff. Yeah, but this was before Singapore when he said that, Hank. So, let's see. Let's see how it goes. Christina says, yeah, let's talk about how much the coverage of Singapore sucks. Well, the biggest problem was that when Alonso and Lewis were fighting and Carlos Sainz was overtaking 4 drivers to get into the top 10, McLaren had just won the Constructors and they were going over the finish and they needed to focus on that. But yeah, a lot of times they make these little small screens as well. And, that works too. To show what's happening. But I don't think they even noticed that was happening. And I suppose if you're a TV director and the whole race, you're looking for stuff to show and nothing keeps happening, and then Norris and Verstappen are fighting, and then there's one tiny little fight they can put into what do you call that? In a replay. It gets really complicated when all of a sudden 3 things happen at the same time. I think they just lost their sharpness. But I think the FOM made a reaction afterwards that they're trying to please everybody and that they'll keep an eye on things going forward to make it a better show. Let's see what the next one says. Gentili says, when will Max do another non-F1 event like Nürburgring? I really like the change. I haven't heard. I don't think there's going to be this season because he's still in the title fight. And Hank says, doing a great job lately, Wimbo. Yes, that's what we want to hear. And, oh, hello, Maggie. Christina says, exactly, do the little screen inside the screen. Yeah. And sometimes they do that when nothing is happening. But yeah, I think if two drivers are close to each other and they're about to fight, but you still have a podium finish to show, then obviously you need to do that. You need to show in some way what's happening on track. And yeah, these long zoom ins on these beautiful model girlfriends, we don't need it. And Lando's mother, I I know Siska is lovely, but we don't need to see her 5 times in a race. Actually, it wasn't even that bad, but over a whole weekend, it's pretty bad. Ivan says, by the way, it's a good idea to remember Kota 2018 in a video. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about, where Max went from P18 to P2, I think. So let me have a look at it. Indo Power says, did you hear Lando said in an interview that winning an F1 title is not priority? Yeah, he said a lot of stuff. He also said that Max pretty much had it easy because both his parents were racers, and Lando said that he would be a better driver if his mom and dad were racers as well. Because, yeah, his poor mom and dad were only billionaires who flew him to Europe every weekend in the best cart possible. And Gentile says, speaking of Kota, I think Max's 2021 race was one of his most impressive wins against the faster Mercedes. That was also a super strategy and a nail biter. Yeah. Christina, I mentioned this in a video. The video called Lando Norris opened his big gob again. So yeah, you really need to you need to watch that video because I discussed it in length with quotes and everything. Oh, Inga, did I miss your question? Oh, did Webber end up staying for the whole race, or did he leave halfway through as planned? Does anyone know? I'm hearing this for the first time, Inga. So I don't know. Yeah. Hank says, in preparation for the 24 hours next year, Max wants to do more preparation races. It's all depending on how Red Bull is doing in the new regulations. Yeah. Yeah. So, what else can we discuss? I'm definitely doing a live stream. Oh, this is something I wanted to tell you. I have a lot of Australian and Kiwi subscribers lately because, with the McLaren drama, I'm talking about British bias and I'm talking about, Norris being favored, and the Australians love this. But at this time, it's so early in the morning for the Australians that we don't see them in the live streams, and I want to have them in the live streams. So Wednesday at 1 o'clock Dutch time, yes, that's 12 o'clock UK time. Yeah, I don't know what time it is in all the other countries, but I'm doing a live stream on Wednesday afternoon, which means that it's at 11 in the evening in New Zealand. But yeah, I have a few subscribers called Marie, who are from New Zealand, and I want them to enjoy a live stream of mine every once in a while as well. So that's what I'm trying to do to please everybody on my channel. There's T. Myers. They should do away with sprint races. They are incredibly boring. Yes, but yeah, as the people from the commentary keep repeating, it's still more entertaining than a free practice. And because they want to charge like 500-600 euros, 700 euros for a weekend passepartout ticket, they want to make the Friday entertaining as well. So that's why there's a qualifying session on a Friday, and the Saturday needs to be interesting as well with qualifying session and a sprint. So yeah, I think it's only going to get worse. You know, if I hear what Dominicali keeps saying about more sprint races and reverse grids and all that nonsense, F1 is going to get gimmicky for a while until people stop watching, and then only the diehards will be left. And yeah. Ivan says, I like Coda apart from the fact the events there are scheduled to a time quite late. Minus 1 hour will not be a big deal for America, but would be much more convenient here. Yeah, I feel ya. I haven't even looked at the times yet. Let me see. Coda F1 2025 times. It's in the middle of the night. $2 p.m. Wait, I'm getting confused here. AM is morning. And PM is afternoon. Oh, yeah. Okay, now those times are not that bad. Ivan, I don't think they're going to have a sprint in Monaco, but they're going to have one in Singapore next season, which is just as bad. Everybody thinks it's thoughtful of me to do it at a different time. Well, mind you, if I do that live stream and there's only 5 people, then I won't do it again. And I think that's what happened the last time. Because everybody who's here now is probably working at that time on a Wednesday, which I don't blame them for. You know, you need a job. Indo Power says, do you think F1 is going the wrong way after Dominicali remarks? Yeah, I'll always love Formula One. And we moan about things, but yeah, sometimes you just have to accept. And if they really mess up, then you know, people will complain and people will stop watching it, and then they'll have to change it back again, you know? Yeah, Gentile says, don't forget to talk about shortening the races because younger viewers don't have the concentration. But the weird thing is that young people, they put live streams on of 4 hours, or they put on podcasts, and then in the meantime, they're scrolling their Instagram and their Twitter and everything, you know? And I think Formula One, a boring race, is ideal for a second screen. So it doesn't add up. T. Meyer says, I miss Eddie Jordan's honest opinion. Yeah. Yeah, he always used to tell it like it was. Very good. Hank says, Zandvoort is also a sprint in 26. I know that because I have tickets. Inge says, F1 is being Americanized. And I don't like it. Hank says, closed but no cigar. Guys, it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to pack it in. So make sure, if you haven't seen those my latest 3 videos yet, go and give it a watch. Make sure to like. And I'm not sure what I'm gonna do next week yet. Oh, I have a nice podcast planned with a guy who's visiting all the races, an English guy who's visiting all the races this season for a certain amount of money. So he's trying to do it in the budget way, and he's posting about it on Instagram after every race. And yeah, I asked him if he wanted to come on my live stream or on my podcast to promote it a little bit. So, yeah. Right, everybody. I wish you all a very lovely weekend. Take care now. Doei doei.